Do you still like? I can go get a clapper board.
No.
It.
Does that count?
I guess.
Okay, I'm ready now.
I'm always ready.
Alright guys, welcome to Dance Games Daily, where I talk about dance games every weekday. Today we have a special guest on. He is primarily known, maybe, to my audience as a tech step artist, but is also very good at writing stamina. In fact, he's actually made more money doing stamina writing competitions than he has tech writing competitions. We have Trevor, aka Chief Skittles. How you doing, man?
A little sleepy, but I'm all right.
I'm doing good. People don't ask me that.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm always the person to ask how the other person is. They never return the favor.
They're just so excited to see you, they can't even wait to get into it.
Maybe they have, and I've just forgotten. But either way, before getting into your intro and background and expertise, I want to talk about the topic for this episode, which is talking about ITG stamina step writing. Because there's a big stereotype, particularly outside of people who play stamina, where they see ITG stamina, it's all streams, and they just think it's mindless. But the truth is that in the modern era, step artists put a lot of thought into how they handle patterning. The issue is actually, I think I'm pretty good at stamina, and honestly, I still don't recognize what stamina charts are good and which ones are bad, and why they're good. Like, I recognize when patterns are hard, I can recognize when patterns are comfortable or uncomfortable. When it comes to determining whether a stamina chart is good or consistent, that's kind of why I have you on, to educate me a little bit.
I'm flattered.
So, I guess, who are you? What's your history with games?
So obviously I'm Trevor, Chief Skittles, Tev, a brief stint as Admiral M&M's, but I stopped doing that. It stopped being funny. So, history with the game. Like the vast majority of North American dance game players, I started playing DDR in middle school. I think I was 12 or 13 at the time, but I only played it like kind of casually, one of those you're in the mall, you see the game kind of thing. Never really took it seriously, didn't have regular access, and eventually lost access. I consider myself as having started playing dance games seriously in probably 2014, 2015 is when I started, I had regular access, so about 6 or 7 years ago. Based on the last edit date of my oldest sim files, I started stepping about 5 years ago. Many people may know I primarily play and step tech. I've written a handful of charts you may know: Arcology, Panjandrum, Bubble in the Air.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, they show up now and then. For the longest time, I only really played and stepped tech. I didn't really get into stamina. I would occasionally play the odd Cirque du Zeppelin 12 or 13 or something. But I didn't really start seriously getting into stamina until around Stamina RPG 2, ECS 7. Pretty much just ignored it prior to that, and like a lot of people, I legitimately just did not understand that stream patterning could be used to represent the music. I thought it was just it's just a bunch of arrows, some of them are fast, some of them are slow, whatever, it's just arrows. So up until then, I didn't have the experience and the knowledge until SRPG 2, which was 3 years ago?
Been a hot minute.
It's been a little while.
I've participated in every SRPG, and I have no recollection of that one.
Well, we're about to start 5 in a couple months, so I guess it was 3 years ago.
Oof.
Yeah, really. Where'd the time go, man? I started playing it a little bit then, and as I started playing it, I think subconsciously I began to kind of internalize some of it, but I didn't really study it or get into it.
So I guess the better question for now is, when you started to recognize these patterns in stamina, how long had you been writing tech at a decent quality at this point?
At a decent quality?
At a decent quality.
Never. I don't write good charts. What are you talking about?
At a level where you felt more... When did Skittles Selection 5 come out?
2018, I think.
And then Is this around the same time you started playing Stamina then?
That's probably when I started playing Stamina. I took the occasional stab at it, as we will likely discuss later. But I didn't really make a first attempt at writing a true dedicated Stamina sim file until I was requested to join with the collab pack Comiket 95. Shoutouts to Okami for extending the invitation to me. With that pack, I did a collaboration chart with Rims on Funk Assembly, which you may recognize as in tournaments today, like a regular appearance for like Stamatech. I wrote the tech side of Stamatech, so to speak. I also wrote another chart called Lotus Quest, and that was like my first real attempt at like writing Stamina specifically for Stamina play and not just a song that happened to be kind of streamy. I think that was probably early 2018. Around a little bit later in the year, Okami approached me again after the reception of my work in Comiket 95. He was going to do a series of packs that he labeled Stamina Factory, where each, like, it was going to be like a monthly or a bi-monthly release thing, and each month or each release would be a different step artist stepping music entirely by a single artist. That pack series ultimately never came to fruition, but I had already begun a pretty significant amount of work on my selection, which was DJ Miyasuke. So that pack, because even though Stamina Factory did not come to fruition, I didn't just abandon all the work I had already done on DJ Miyasuke. So eventually became a solo release. A fun, I guess you could say, a fun fact about DJ Miyasuke is that around the time that I was writing it, this is like late 2018, early 2019, I'd say, that's when I started getting a lot of very high quality, in-depth feedback. That's pretty much when the vast majority of my mental growth and like my craftsmanship for Stamina grew, was during this time. So as a result, the DJ Miyasuke pack that you may play today is actually technically the third DJ Miyasuke pack I've made, because I restepped the entire pack twice. It's still a tragedy, but it's much better than it was. That eventually, it didn't release until I think early 2020. Maybe a little bit earlier than that, like late 2019, early 2020. I would actually have to go back and check.
Who was primarily giving you feedback on these charts?
It was a lot of Rims, because he is an absolute master at providing good feedback. The guy's a saint. I can't begin to fathom how much time it takes him to write up the critique and reviews he does, and he just does it. I mean, I guess he enjoys it, but man, it's got to be a time sink. But I got a lot of feedback from Rims, and I would say that when I first started, trying to intentionally write quality Stamina files, I would say my primary influences, the artists that I looked at and said, that's who I want to be like, was Zaya. I think Zaya has basically defined like 3 different generations of Stamina metagame.
He deserves 3 different interviews, probably.
I don't know how he does it. Wow. So Zaya definitely is a big influence. Rims also, they both were just like pretty much the key drive, like the key forces behind how I use things like motion and directional facing to accent music in my files, which again, we'll talk about later. And another big influence is, and also to say nothing of the other 2, they're all fantastic friends of mine, but another big influence and one of my best friends, Storytime. He pretty much, in like a casual offhand like conversation, he pretty much like single-handedly taught me how to use candles 100 times better than I was using. It just kind of comes naturally to him. 3 other players that I did want to mention, Arvin, Levitas, and Aoreo, I would say were key in me learning how to write higher speed content, which, segueing here, one chart that I would want to specifically mention, at least briefly, from DJ Miyasuke is the chart for Source of Creation. So Source of Creation is a 190 BPM song that's written. It's a lot of swing, 12th note swing. I know that's not a real term. Sorry, Purple Boys, whatever. It's a very Purple song. So at the time, I can't remember what inspired me to do it. I think it was just because I wasn't sure what else to do with the song. I wrote it as 24ths at 190 BPM, which is effectively what? What?
That's a little
so
fast.
I wrote. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
It's effectively 285 BPM stream. To everyone watching at home, if you think there's no way anyone can do that, you'd be surprised. I did write it seriously. I won't say I wrote it as a joke, but it was terrible. Not sugarcoating it. It was a very poorly made chart for that kind of speed. Of course, I had no idea. I didn't know because I can't stream 285. It was my first attempt at ever doing it. So yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. But I got a lot of incredible, really in-depth feedback from the three people I mentioned: Arvin, Levitas, Aoreo, also Ian Berg, not Ian Piles, Ian Berg. He's helped me out a little bit. It actually, it helped me whip the chart from being unplayable to pretty quality high-speed content, which is, I take a little bit of pride in that still, because I'm really just kind of going by what feels right and the feedback I get, because I can't test that. As a result of that, I started learning, rather than trying to write stuff that I could play, I wanted to play, I could test. I because at the time I wasn't super seriously playing Stamina. I was just enjoying writing it because it was something different from writing tech, which at this point I could probably write in my sleep.
Oh, I've seen you. You practically do.
Oh yeah, I did write that when I was basically asleep. So as a result of that, I started, most of my stream writing was 180, 190 BPM songs. I'd start charting them as 24ths. I'm writing 280, 290, 300 BPM streams that 4 people in the world can play, just because, well, they're my friends and they didn't really have very much content to play. So I thought, well, if I know how to do it, why not do it?
Actually, I have a couple questions, if it's all right.
Okay.
So I know Zane's talked about this in his interview with Jeremy, but how does it feel in general to write content that you're unable to play? And in those early iterations, what were kind of the biggest offenses that made your first attempts at that really bad?
Well, to be honest, it feels the same way as every other chart I write. I'm really just trying to do the music justice, and that's all I really take into account. You certainly don't think I wrote Override because I actually wanted to play Override. Because I don't think I've ever actually finished that chart. But it's really cool. I do the same thing with 10 minutes of 270 BPM stream. Please look forward to playing Star of Collapse in Upper Division ECS 9.5. That one I actually did write as a joke. It ain't a joke.
But it's in.
It's in.
It's in.
It's in. When it comes to stuff like that, I would say that since I can't play it, if anything, I feel like I'm able to just fully let go of, oh man, what if this is a little uncomfortable, or what if this is a little awkward, or something like that. It just lets me fully get into, how do I use the 4 arrows I have available to me to make someone feel like everything they're doing was always a part of the music. If it fits the music, I mean, within reason. Even if you're trying to paint even if you don't believe in 99% of artistic conventions, if you're trying to paint a picture, you literally can't paint on air where the canvas isn't there, and that would be the equivalent of doing a measure long tower at 320 BPM. That isn't real.
Yeah.
What was the other question?
I think the thing I was wondering about is kind of what high level players found not good about your charts when you had first attempted writing.
Right.
It's that difficult.
So the very, very, very first one that I wrote, Source of Creation, that I mentioned, it was steppy is the term. I don't want to use too many high level stamina chart writing jargon. I want to make sure it's easily understood. But it was very heavy step patterning. It wasn't stuff that you could just slide your feet and easily hit.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it is that the modern players optimize their form that supports a certain play style, and the way that you were writing was not complementary to that playstyle.
Correct. Yeah, and it was simply because it was at a level like I couldn't fathom playing it, so I just did what I thought was right, and it wasn't right. So I fixed it. After that one, though, I would say that the number one issue that my charts had while I was first learning was that they were very bland and played everything very, very safe. Yeah, you could play them. They were comfortable because they did nothing. It was literally just like alternating staircases with no candles and maybe like a left, right, left or something. It was very bland. So a big part of learning how to write stuff like that was learning how daring I could get with my patterning and how much, like, what I could do to inject character and life into the patterns without making the chart just like not fun to play. Now, as a side note, when you're writing 290 BPM stream, it's a little more restrictive than writing like 160 BPM streams, and that's another thing that we can get into if you want. Like, certain things work at certain speeds, they don't work at other speeds, and sometimes they do work at other speeds, but to do completely different things. It's not like super intuitive. You kind of have to develop a sense for it. It helps to either be able to play it or just have someone that you can count on to tell you what works and what doesn't. Eventually, you just have to like understand how many tools are in your arsenal at any given point.
Yeah, I guess one thing that worries me a little bit is that you made a chart and you had, you're a pretty deliberate charter. You have intention behind every arrow that you place. But then the feedback is given to you that the patterns are too steppy, that it doesn't complement a certain form. Do you feel like adjusting for other people's playstyles is compromising the original intention that you had?
I would say that at the time, it probably did, but the cause for that it's twofold, actually. Number one is that I was still learning what I could and couldn't, should and shouldn't do, not just at high speeds, but at any speed. So I was still learning. So like my selection of tools was fairly limited. I would say another thing, which in hindsight, we probably made a bigger deal out of it than we should have, but the metagame of high speed, like foot speed style stuff was undergoing some fairly significant and rapid shifts in what was good or bad, doable, not doable, comfortable, not comfortable. Like we actually had a joke at one point. Oh, well, we'll have a foot speed showcase instead of a stamina showcase or a tech showcase. It's just one judge and they review the chart in 4 different months and they give it a different score each time. It's funnier when we said it. Trust me, it was funny at the time. I promise. The truth behind the joke was that literally in the term of just a couple months, you had these 4 or 5 people at the tippity top of the foot speed heap who were going from this is literally impossible, this doesn't work, don't do this, to write more stuff like this, everything else is already too easy. Sometimes it just was better to play it a little safe because the meta was just all over the place at that point. So I hope that answered your 2 questions. I feel like we could have had another interview entirely about that. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to sum up this question, do you feel like you were able to kind of relearning what tools they wanted you to use? That way you can express the same intention, just maybe in a different way?
I would say yes, on the basis that at the time, like, I couldn't do anything exciting or artistic yet because I hadn't learned the foundation yet.
Okay, before you do sense, yeah.
Yeah, before you can do anything that's, daring or experimental, you gotta walk before you can run.
Right. You
gotta stream 100 before you can stream 400. So yeah, I guess you want me to just pick back up where I was with like my history or whatever. Yeah, we spun off a little bit. That's my bad. So anyway, following DJ Miyasuke concurrently with that whole thing about source of creation, learning how to write high speed, because that's a whole other. Concurrently to that, I actually, while DJ Miyasuke was on its 3rd restep, I think I actually wrote an entire mini pack called Resistance Device, named for the album of the same name, Resistance Device by Matatabi Sound System, which is one of Kabario's like 8 aliases. This was kind of like my testing grounds for stuff that I was learning while writing DJ Miyasuke a million times over. This one I would say, like, I honestly think it's probably a better pack than DJ Miyasuke, maybe aside from a few standouts in the latter. I feel like I was a lot better at using patterning to represent musical elements in ways that actually fit really well and meaningfully. I was kind of reserved in the patterning that I did use, partially because I was mostly writing really high speed, like for fun or for practice, I would write really high speed stuff. So I was kind of applying that high speed meta to my normal speed charts because I wasn't sure where the line was where like I could get away with certain things. So I was just doing what I knew worked at 280 for writing 180. I still think the pack's good. I just feel like there was some of the stuff I did was a little limited in terms of artistic expression.
And that's kind of as a result of applying your high-speed mindset down to lower BPMs.
Yeah. Like I said, this was more of just like a test area. I wasn't trying to do anything super crazy with this one. I thought the album was really, really good, and I wanted to chart it, so I just kind of hammered it out in the course of like 2 or 3 days. This was also the source of, I believe, my first chart appearances in the East Coast Stamina series, alongside Wish to This Sky from Skittles Selection 7, which is the odd stamina chart out of that pack. So that's when I would say that I had at least gotten to the point where I was of adequate or slightly more than adequate quality to be considered, playable in a tournament like an ECS .5 event, slightly more casual for most players. Eventually, Resistance Device was finished, and then following Resistance Device, I finally got around to finishing DJ Miyasuke. Great fanfare or something, I don't know. I released it. It was cool. It's still in ECS. And sometime after that, it was last year, the Stamina Nation community held a chart writing competition called The Main Ingredient. Now, this was a more casual, lighthearted, I don't want to say casual, that word has negative connotations. I would say a more lighthearted stepping event where basically rather than submitting a song, everyone got the same song and they had to, cut it and chart it themselves and write a stamina chart to it as what they thought the best they could. So this kind of brought in, not only the chart was important, but also like understanding the concept of like pacing and all that kind of stuff. We could get into that again, kind of a rabbit hole there. It's somewhat, I would say it helped for people, I would guess like myself at the time, who were still kind of like learning how to write stamina, and the fact that musically everyone was kind of on equal footing, and the fact that the songs were intentionally chosen to be open-ended to chart. Like there was a lot of different ways that you could artistically represent the music in each of the songs.
There were 2 divisions, right? There was an upper and a lower.
In the first round, yeah. So in the first round, there were 2. I wouldn't even call them divisions because the way it was set up,
fast and slow.
Yeah, like ladders. I'd say there were 2 ladders. There was a fast song and a slow song, and then if you got through round 1 with either of them, round 2 you had to do both. So you had to chart 2 songs. You only had to chart 1 for round 1, either the fast one or the slow one.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's super cool to see everybody chart the same song, because like no matter how poorly you do, you're going to have a reference to the people that did better than you, and you get to see exactly how other people charted the same bit of audio. And honestly, maybe I'll overlay it during this talk, but the fast song at least, does not have, there's a lot of creative liberty. It's a very, very blank slate, for better or for worse.
So for those who don't know, the fast song in round 1 of The Main Ingredient was a dark psytrance song called Tenebris by Copophobia. And I'll skip the gory details, but charting dark psy is hard because there's a lot you can do right. There's a lot you can do wrong, but there's not very much that you can do really, really right, which means like the 3 people who do it really, really right stand out really well. I entered both the fast and the slow ladder. I did not do super well in round 1. I barely scraped into the finals. I think I was, because like only a certain cutoff of people made it into the finals. So the judges didn't have to judge like a million people for round 2 after doing it for round 1. So I barely made it into finals. I think I was like 2 or 3 above the cutoff. Like I scraped into that bad boy. I would say it was probably because Tenebris was kind of a banger. I liked Tenebris. The lower speed song I actually hated.
Was that Mr. Kill Myself?
It was Mr. Kill Myself by Sewer Svt.
I think that was actually the song I was thinking of. I was not thinking of the fast song.
No,
the slower song was definitely a clean slate.
It was also bad.
It's hard to write stamina to that song.
So that one, I managed. My Tenebris chart, I had a lot more fun charting that one, but was also not very good because I didn't really know how to chart Darkside well. I think my Mr. Kill Myself chart actually did kind of well, which I thought was shocking because I hated every second of writing it. Absolutely could not stand listening to that song. So I wasn't really vibing the songs in round 1. From being able to chart them well. But round 2, I guess it was a combination of I liked the songs and I kind of just something clicked. And I went from barely making it into finals to I actually took 3rd place in the whole event behind Storytime in 2nd place and Took in 1st place. Congratulations, both of them, of course. This was a while back. But at that point, it was like, I guess I know what I'm doing. It was also the fact that writing a good stamina chart to melodic death metal is really hard unless you really like melodic death metal. And so coming off of the main ingredient, I kind of had like it was exciting because at this point I think the main ingredient happened after Skittles Selection 7 came out, which is pretty much my magnum opus of tech writing. It's all downhill from here after that one. I got to the point where I was just like, I can write tech. It's whatever. So being able to like getting that positive feedback, like I guess I can write stamina too. It was a renewed lease on using arrows to make songs feel good. Coming off of that, I ended up, I think literally the day the results for the main ingredient dropped, I released either the day or the day after. I released my 3rd dedicated stamina pack, Skittles Stream Collection. It's like 18 songs, I think. I feel like this one might have been a smidge overlooked when it first came out, but 80% of the pack is in ECS 9.5 now, so people are gonna have to play it.
Is that across all divisions?
Yeah. I think I have charts in all 3 divisions, including 10 minutes of 270 that I wrote as a joke.
What is that rated?
Well, I didn't rate it. I refused to rate it. I left it as a 1, and I said, I'm not rating this. Here's your rating. It's 10 minutes of 270. We don't have, it doesn't work on the scale. Don't even bother. It's 10 minutes of 270. But for the sake of ECS, Levitas rated it a 27. So now the joke is 10 minutes of 270 is the exact same difficulty as 90 seconds of 290.
So yeah, stamina ratings gets its own episode.
Yeah, stamina ratings, don't get too up in arms about them, folks. Like, it's fun to discuss. Don't get up in arms about them. Just post lips, post the breakdown, and move on. Okay, it'll be fine. Everything's gonna be all right.
I mean, Trevor, this is a very impressive rise to stamina writing proficiency, and I think that the big takeaway that I'm noticing that every creative knows and that every, want-to-be creator needs to know is that you produced a lot of hot garbage, a lot of it, before getting to where you are now.
You have no idea.
So yeah, you could do an entire episode on me going through my very first pack and screaming at myself. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's into writing tech or writing stamina, just make things, get feedback, and make more bad things until it's less bad.
Yeah, that's the 2 things I would say. It's like, and I feel like it's not just with the dance game. It's everywhere. Like it's just human nature. You see your idols, and you're like, I want to be like them. It's like, I want to be the best StarCraft 2 player in the world. I want to be the best ITG tech writer in the world. I want to be the best Super Smash Brothers player in the world. You're not going to just roll out of bed one day and suddenly be the best. You're going to have to put in the games, and you're going to have to screw up a lot first. And it's going to hurt. It's always going to hurt because nobody likes to fail. Dealing with failure is hard. It's just human nature. We don't like to be told you didn't do good. The key thing to keep in mind is that there's two things. One, it's a video game. Two, the key thing to ask yourself is not, why did I mess this up? The key thing to ask yourself, and in turn ask the people who are telling you didn't do well, is, what do I do to make it better? Because 99 times out of 100, unless you're talking to someone like me who's just a jerk, people are going to say, even if it's just like three sentences, they'll be like, well, here's what I didn't like. Sometimes you might have to read between the lines a little bit because, it's the internet. People are mean on the internet. It's what we do. Like, sorry. This is why I left social media. I can't stop being mean to strangers. I'm really sorry. It's a bad habit. But it's like, you got to read between the lines there. Like, if someone is willing to go out of their way to say, hey, this kind of sucks, chances are, if you just prod them a little bit, they'll say, okay, well, this is why it sucks. And then you just got to say, okay, cool. Next time, I'll try not to do that.
Yeah, I've been in the same position with either drumline rehearsals or drumline auditions where some of the instructors are a bit aggressive about how they deliver their information. Some people find it demoralizing, but sometimes if they're giving you feedback because they have a vested interest in you improving, like regardless of the delivery, so sometimes you have to ignore maybe the delivery of the speech. Yeah. Take the feedback and the words for what it is. Absorb that, discard anything else.
And that's the hard part. Discarding the excess baggage is hard, but if you can kind of do that bit by bit, it just, next thing you know, it's like, hey, you don't even have to think about it anymore. I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good skill to pick up. I don't want people to be a pushover and, let other people say anything they want to you, because that's not true. But
right,
it's just being able to take in feedback early on and not worry too much about the delivery is going to be really important early on. And you can take the feedback, chart more, take more feedback, chart more, and you're going to improve. Really.
Yeah, or you can pull a Zaya and release a chart in the ancient era of charting when nobody actually knew what was doing, get roasted for it, and then go into hiding for like 6 years and come back to be the best stamina rider in the world. That's probably not conducive to like getting things done quickly, but worked for at least one person.
All right, let's look at some charts. I'm gonna set up here.
Can we pause real quick? I need to use the restroom.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the fun stuff. Let's see how far we can get into this before the stream dies.
Oh, I don't want to think about that. It's 48 minutes so far, so.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really good at running my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that last rant I'm leaving in at the end about accepting feedback.
I never said I would say things that people wanted to hear.
I know.
That's why I'm actually I'm a little shocked, that you even wanted to interview. I'm like, Vincent, are you sure you're ready?
No. I wanted to interview Tev, not Shin Tev. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready if you are.
All right, Tev. Now that we've covered your background and step writing rise to notoriety, let's look at a few charts. And just for some background for the people watching, I guess, Tev, you can kind of teach me what's going on with these charts, but my background is that I do play stamina. I know at least that it's not completely mindless streams, and I do know that a lot of step artists put a lot into patterning, but despite playing a lot, I'm still not a step artist. The only thing I can do is I can recognize when patterns are hard, I can recognize when they're uncomfortable or comfortable, and I can maybe identify when charts are bad, but not necessarily what makes a stamina chart really good. If that makes sense. So, what chart are we going to look at first, and why did you pick this one? Okay, so this chart, hang on, let me get comfortable here. So this chart is a chart to a song called Frenzy Night by Demetori. It is a Toho arrange. It's a bit basically heavy metal, I guess you could say. So I sent this is from my my 5th pack. I sent this one to you primarily because, as you mentioned earlier, how before I knew what I was doing, I could write good content. I wrote a lot of hot garbage. I wouldn't say this one is hot garbage, but it's definitely at least lukewarm.
I sent you this one. I wanted to go into it because there is a pretty significant amount of stuff in this one that I think isn't just wrong, but bad. But there are some inklings of understanding that begin to show themselves here, where it's very clear that it was like I wrote it with intent, but at the time I very much did not know what I was doing.
All right, should we get into it?
Absolutely. So if you just want to stop real quick. So right here, you notice that I kind of just wrote this intro like a normal chart. I feel like this is totally fine. Today, if I went back and recharted this, I might do this. I might just write this as stream here. I feel like what I did here is a little anemic. It's just very plain and boring, and I could have done more with it in terms of like stream writing here. That's just a brief aside. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. Okay, so right here, and you don't have to stop this one, just real quick. Right here, I do just want to say that, like, this stream patterning, and I mean this with no sense of sarcasm or exaggeration, is like 90% mindless. I actually put, all right, stop right here. Up to that point, like measure 10 to measure 24, absolutely 100%, I put no thought into it. Beyond like, well, this is the beginning, and there's not much going on, so there shouldn't be any candles, because candles have movement, and that means energy, and there's less energy here. Like, that is literally the only thought process I put into this. As a result, I would say that what I have here is playable, but boring. Pointless, does not match anything. Even if you, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, like, you can make something that's, playable if you just kind of throw down some arrows and call it a day. But like, I could copy paste this, like these entire 14 measures onto any other song, and it would make just as much sense there as it does here. Maybe even more if I got lucky, because I literally put zero thought in it. Because at the time, I didn't know you could put thought into this. I was just like, yeah, just throw some arrows down, whatever. Now, if you go down to measure 23 here, let's point this out real quick. So this is a box. Some people may or may not know that I have opinions on these. We're not going to get into that. Go ahead and play this part again and listen to this part real quick. So stop right there. So you notice right there, there's that kind of like the heavier snare impact. So obviously, like, I was like, oh, that's something new. I got to do something with it. So it's like, that's where the first ideas were. Like, there's something new in the music. I have to do something with it.
You're saying that the box is a good thing, right?
I'm saying that the box is better than nothing.
Okay.
We'll get into boxes later. Alright, so this section right here, hang on, right there, measure 27. Now, you might not be able to hear it on the recording because you can barely hear it when you're actually listening to the song, but you see this right here, this left arrow anchor. There's a very faint piano tinkling that goes on in the music at this point. So, like, I was like, oh, well, that's something kind of unique. I need to do something with that.
Oh,
yeah, like, you can barely hear it, even when you're, like, listening to it in source. So I guess, there's a good thing, like, hey, there's something in the music, I'm doing something with it. The bad thing is that I'm, like, charting to, like, this tiny, insignificant background noise, as opposed to something that's more present in the music.
Yeah, dude, the audio gets compressed, the speakers on machines are bad. Don't chart for things that you can only hear on headphones.
Yeah. If you have to turn your headphones up to max to hear it, don't chart a 30-second foot switch crossover burst to it. It's just gonna make us mad. But that being said, so like, there's something here. Also about this whole section right here, from measure 24 to 40 something. So this patterning is also basically mindless. The only thing that's different here is that I occasionally, and they're completely random. Oh, there's one. They're completely random. I throw in the occasional candle. Now, there's no rhyme or reason for them. They don't go to anything in the music. There's no rhythm to. They're just like, I just kind of threw one in every now and then.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like where you candle across the center panel. Now, brief aside, if I may, may I make a brief aside?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so here's the brief aside. So for those who don't know, I will explain it to the people who don't know the same way it was explained to me several years ago. A candle is... Oh, hang on, my phone's ringing. Hang on a second. Hey, can I call you back? Alright, talk to you later.
Shoutouts to Mom Skittles.
That was my dad, actually.
Shoutouts to Dad Skittles.
I will explain it to you the same way it was explained to me several years ago. A candle is any pattern where if there was a candle in the middle of the pad, you would kick it over with your foot when you hit it. Because that's just what it is. That's how it was explained. So you see here, left foot on the left arrow, then right, then down, then right, and then your left foot goes from the down arrow to the up arrow. So that candle that is apparently just in the middle of your pad, you just kicked it right over. That's how it was explained to me like 6 years ago. Nobody really knows. I don't think does anybody know where that came from?
Jargon also needs its own episode.
God, isn't that the truth?
Should we keep looking? Did you have more to say about this candle?
No, I was just explaining what a candle was because that's the stupidest term ever. And the explanation is hilarious to me. I was just explaining for the people who don't know when I say, like, when I just randomly throw out terms, trust me, I'm referring to something, I promise. Yeah. Boxes, candles, anchors, we've got it all down here at Stamina Central.
But yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is just generally from the beginning of the song, but particularly from Measure 24, just, not...
Like, it's the same thing, it's just totally mindless, except now there's a candle here and there, because I'm like, oh, well, there's a little more energy in the song, so I have to do something with more movement. So throw in a candle, or 6.
Should we keep going?
Whatever. Yeah, go ahead. There's a box there for no reason. There's an anchor for no reason. That anchor's there for
there's a reason, that's not a good one.
No, that one doesn't have a reason. Neither does that one. Neither does that one. No, right there. Hang on. That one actually did have a reason. Go up to that box.
The boxes are the da-da, right? On the guitar?
Yeah, so like roll up one more quarter note.
These?
Yeah, so right here, that little up-down box.
Yeah, and then the same box here for the
and
same...
right here.
For the same guitar sound, right?
The guitar or whatever. A box doesn't really fit there. It doesn't really match what the music is doing, and that would take me... You kind of just have to develop a sense for that. But so we can see here, like, there's the occasional burst of, like, definite, defined intent with what I'm doing, but it's marred by excessive amounts of literal nothingness, awkward, pointless patterning choices that may or may not actually represent the music well, and just myriad other issues that, like, the good stuff does not make the whole any better, because, like, for the rest of it, I wouldn't say it's bad. Like, it's just, like, painfully, aggressively mediocre. It just doesn't do anything. It has no merit to it.
Right.
That being said, there is one point, if you want to, we can actually go ahead and like scroll down to measure 44. There's one part where I actually do want to like call out, because like it's again like kind of like the seedlings of intent here. So we'll go down to 41 right here.
Oh, okay, I see that.
Yeah. So like, and it repeats that for like 4 or 5 measures, I think. So like this one, I can actually say like it was written with definite intent, and like I don't really know how to describe it, but like you kind of feel like the movement that you're going through there matches like the guitar riffing and all. Like it just, that part actually kind of fits.
Well, yeah, because the guitar sound has like this repeating pattern, like
yeah, it's like a repeating thing. Yeah, that keeps going back to that same like intro like chug.
But it's the same.
So it's like,
but it's the same for the length of 2 beats. So what you have is this pattern that lasts 2 beats, and if I'm correct, you have this pattern, and it's the exact same thing for the next 2 beats as well. It's
a 2-beat long pattern that goes for 4 beats,
and it just matches the sound of the phrasing of the guitar.
Yeah. And then like I just kind of like I mirrored it horizontally, and then I mirrored it vertically. You know, that way it's not just completely repetitious, like and super monodirectional. But
yeah, and it's gotta
like,
be one of those
the movement is the same.
right.
It provides the same energy that the guitar has. So
it's gonna be one of those things where if you're not familiar with stamina charting, you're gonna see a copy paste and you're gonna think it's lazy, but in fact it's doing the opposite because
this is completely correct. Like if I'm a musical artist and I write a 16 measure chorus that's amazing, I'm not gonna rewrite a completely different 16 measure chorus, 48 measures later in the song. I'm just gonna take the music and copy paste it because that's what a chorus does.
Right.
If the music is doing the same thing, the steps should do the same thing.
You found a musical idea
mix
that
it up
works.
a little bit so it's not like super, boring. But like you're putting arrows to the music. If the arrows match the music at point A and point A repeats itself later, don't redo your work.
Absolutely.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Stick with what works. So yeah, I just wanted to call that out. There's not really much more we can talk about in this one other than me just going, God, I had no idea what I was doing. This, like, right here, you can kind of see, like, I was very intentionally, like, the movement in this section was trying to follow the guitar.
Yeah, it's like some diamonds in the rough of the nothingness otherwise.
Diamonds in the void.
Alright, should we just jump onto another chart?
Absolutely. You can go to the next one.
We're fucking skipping song 2. Unless you wanted to go through it for the sake of having extra content, and then I can decide whether I want to cut it after.
Nah, I mean, if we don't have time to do song 2, we can skip it, because I feel like I can get a lot more relevant statements out of song 3. Really, song 2, the best part about that was gonna be me saying, I just Lucci'd right into that sumbitch. Shoutouts to Hosong.
Oh, let's fucking do.
So if you want to just like pull up song 2, go down to the middle of it, and just like literally jump to me saying, I Lucci'd right into that sumbitch. Shoutouts to Hosong. We can do that.
Does it matter SM or SSC?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, I guess we can talk about it.
Honestly, like, if you want to just skip this one, that'll be fine, because, like, I feel like it would be good, but we can kind of speed through this one, I guess, if you want.
Just shout out for Hosang at the end. Turn the fuck up.
Please turn the fuck up. Shoutouts to Feed, turn the fuck up, backer. Please turn the fuck up.
Alright, so the next chart we're going to look at is Shoot for the Sun. What pack is this in? Why did you pick this one?
This one actually is not in a pack yet. It is unreleased. It is the newest chart out of all the ones that we may look at today. It will go into a super secret mega pack that will release at the end of this year. This one is I sent you this one because I don't want to say it's by virtue of being the newest. It's one of my best charts because trust me, like sometimes you just make a bad chart no matter how much practice you have it. But just upon reviewing some of my more recent works to send to you for this, like the more I looked at this one, the more I was just like, this one kind of hits it. This one does everything I want to do in a step chart that I like am have the knowledge of doing when it comes to stamina. Also, the song slams. Like, it's amazing. So if it means I can make more people listen to Paladin, I'm all about it.
Alright, should we get into it?
Absolutely.
Ooh, okay, this is hot.
Oh wait, I need to actually talk about this chart, not just sit here and air guitar to it. Alright, so right here, go back up to measure 8 before we get too far into this. Go back up. So play these roll up a little bit and then play like 2 or 3 beats. So
you have those guitar hits going on that's being accented.
Yeah. We'll talk about the beat. Right? Okay, so roll back up to measure 8. Yeah, so let's talk about that. And I'll try not to spend too much time on this because there is a lot more I can talk about in this chart than in the previous chart we looked at. Because this one just hit all the right notes for me. Sometimes you just knock one out and you're just like, that one's a good one. So right here we've got these little triangles, that one and then the next 3 notes down. So these things, they're switching your the player's directional facing. Now I know like these days, like pretty much everyone just like looks forward and just does this, but like you kind of angle a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's just switching your directional facing to accent those power chords.
And also left side of the pad, right side of the pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also
yeah,
facing.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Left side of the pad, right side of the pad. Now there's no candles or anything. Like what I could have done, like to force a direction change, would be like left, down, left, up, down, up. Like that would also accomplish a direction change, but that's a really aggressive direction change. Yeah, you can demo it like.
Oh, what was it?
Yeah, like that. Well, it wouldn't work for.
Yeah.
Like ignore the next arrow down. Yeah, so like that would also be a direction change, but like this is the hi Tommy. So it's like the very beginning of the chart. And it's a high energy song, it's power metal, but so it's like it's high energy, but energy and intensity for like musical relevance and charting, like it's all relative. Yeah, this might be a high energy song, but it's also the very beginning. Like it's still the intro, man. You can't use all the big high impact patterns that you have in your back pocket when you're just getting started. You have to build into that. So what I did here is just two little triangles with no candles. There is a candle right after it, but that's because like if you play it again, go back up. Yeah, play it. Like right there, it kind of goes into that like that sick little guitar thing, Like so, yeah. Okay, we we slap a little motion on that bad boy because it's awesome.
This is the.
Yeah, well, actually, roll up a little bit because there's another thing we got to talk about here. Like right there, that one on beat. Yeah, right there, that bad boy, that candle. Yeah, you slap a little motion right there. So yeah, so that's how I accented the power chord impacts. Direction. Again, like going back to what I said earlier, Zaya and Rems were two of like my main like stylistic influences for the use of direction and facing changes to accent music. I would say, this stems from how they do it. Yeah, the intro. So right here, that anchor. Go back up to that anchor. Yeah, we're going like 2 beats down. I got something else to talk about. No. Go up. Right.
Oh, there's an anchor.
Here, yeah. So this anchor, like this part right here, it's like there's a side anchor again with no candles because we're still at the beginning. We're trying to keep the energy level reserved here. There's a side anchor because it accents the guitar chugging, and you'll notice like because it ends on right up right, it effortlessly transitions into the left up left. Which if you play it again and listen, it goes from that guitar chugging to the same power chord impact that I established a measure up was the double triangle direction facing. Yeah, so right there you can hear like a ding a ding a ding a ding a ding that little ding a ding a ding a ding a ding like that's what the anchor is like.
I'm gonna highlight this and then play it back so
yeah.
I can actually see what's going on.
Don't think, feel.
Wait, did it?
It's all like it's like off by a 16th, but
the audio
you
off?
can do that. What?
Wait,
no,
did I shift the chart
No. I'm saying like I charted it off by like a 16th from where the ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding technically starts. But you have to do that, otherwise everything's going to be on the same foot.
Right.
You don't want that. Yeah. Anyway, go back up to like measure 10 now.
Yeah.
Okay, hit play. Right here. Yeah. Like the 2 beats above measure 10. So right here, it's like, you'll notice like there's 2 candles in a row. Actually, there's 3 candles. Like that just sort of whoosh, look at all that motion. The reason I do that is because the guitar part actually like flares up in pitch. It gets a little on it. Gets a little of that zazz, So you got to emphasize that. But like the reason why I just did the triple candle into the triangle on the upright is because it's like it's still directly like the pattern conventions that I just established for using the triangles to mark the chord impact. Sometimes it just comes down to the song just works, right here it's just like I could just slam into this thing, hit that triangle to emphasize, that part, and then use all the candles to emphasize the fact that the guitar is doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, hit it. This is a break, so I mean... Yeah, so go back up to where he says vision. Measure 24.5. Start there.
24.5 here.
Yeah. So you'll notice it right here, like, there's the double triangle again, but it's monodirectional facing. So the reason I did this is because it's matching the extended time on the word vision, which the guy is saying at this point. So it does the two triangles, and then that second triangle leads into the side anchor to match the higher number of syllables on the coming vocals.
So this right-facing double triangle
is matching to the word the singer's word vision, which he kind of extends outward for a beat, and then like coming after vision, he's like vision burning in your head, and it kind of like he hammers that next bit out kind of a little more rapid fire. So that's what that anchor is like. Digga digga, you know, it's like, and it's all the same pitch. Like when he comes off vision, he says burning in your head, rapid fire with the same tonality. So that's what the anchor is referencing, more or less.
Oh,
right
burning.
Yeah.
And then it's actually maybe not the entire anchor, but particularly I think of these two. Your right foot is accenting those lyrics, right?
Yeah, and the anchor, like, yeah, because like, burning. Of course, he's not saying the word until the quarter note and the eighth note, but like the you know, with stamina, it's less about like the micro, like the specific step, and it's more about like the phrase, the musical, like the whole thing, the whole package. So it's like the you know the it's just so cool.
Yeah. I would never have noticed that without talking to you about this.
I'm so happy with how this chart turned out. Yeah, and
vision
burning in your head, and he's like, that's what the anchor's going to.
Burning,
because burning in your head is like all the same tone until head, which we actually mention because that's the next thing I have noted. Yeah, so we're not even getting a beat down before I have something else I want to gush about. You realize how this whole interview is basically just me talking about how cool I am, or how cool I think I am.
That's why I have you on, man.
Not that far, but yeah, that works. I mean, it's okay. I get to listen to.
Oh,
so right there, that little sweep. Yeah, the sweep downward is to like the part where he says burning in your, like the pitch kind of goes, it's like burning in your, like obviously I'm exaggerating and I don't want to start singing on camera or anything. Please, God, don't make me do that. But it's like burning in your, like he kind of steps the pitch down. So I'm sweeping down the pad because like there's a slight, like, there's a little bit of emphasis on it because the pitch steps down, and then he whips into, if you hit it again, right there, the part, like, he sustained, like, that part, the head, burning in your head, very high energy, high pitch, it's intense. So, helicopters are pretty intense, so we just a couple beats of copter to match the high energy sustained like vibrato like high pitch vocals. That's a recurring motif for the guy's vocals. When he sustains out really high pitch notes, I use some helicopters. That's actually incredible.
I definitely noticed the helicopter, but I did not notice the downward inflection on the word your.
Yeah, I mean at 168 BPM you can get away with a lot, so helicopters it is.
I'm gonna highlight this correctly so I can listen to it again. Oh, okay, I see it. It's not right only here, that it goes down, but he like pitch bends it down almost.
Yeah. And then right here at measure 26, like we don't even have to go far. I got another thing we can talk about. Go ahead and play this part. Right there, white hot, one shot. Same kind of thing as when I was talking about the anchor on vision burning in your head. It's like literally the first beat of measure. Here. Yeah, the left, right, and then the right, left, right.
Yeah,
it's the same kind of musical emphasis and musical reasoning as the anchor on burning in your. It's rapid fire, low pitch, single tonality vocals, but they're very short. So rather than doing like a full anchor, I just do left, right, left, just to emphasize the fact that dig it up. Yeah. Like if you start like a beat or so up, highlight it and then like start it.
Yeah,
right there. Yeah, that kind of thing. So the left, right, and the right, left, right, they're accenting, like I said, that white hot, one shot, the low pitch, monotone, rapid fire vocals. But rather than being like a directional triangle, they're forward facing, no candle, no directional facing. It's like he's just like almost grunting these vocals out in comparison to coming off of that strong, sustained vibrato on Burning in Your Head. I want to emphasize that he's doing something here, but I don't want to like cut in on the energy that I gave the other stuff. So we're just facing straight forward, just a quick little dig it in place.
This is so much attention to detail. Like, stamina artists in general, have you guys been doing this long enough that catching these details is more, I don't know if muscle memory is the right word, but you already have a knack for it. You've learned the systems around it and you recognize these situations a lot easier just over a long period of time. Like, how long does it take for you to produce something of this level of detail?
I just do what the music tells me to do, man.
Something you have told me before is that every song already has a chart and you're trying to find it.
Yeah, basically. No, but like not trying to come off as coy or anything. Like I don't know. Some people it just clicks. Some people have to work at it and figure it out. Some people have different ideas on what patterns represent what sounds. I'm not sure. I feel like if you play a lot or just watch a lot or read a lot of Stamina, like you kind of start to realize what people do. So, and then you can kind of take that and mold it to your own style. You got to find a song that you just vibe with, man. And this is one for me.
What else do we have going on in this chart?
You can hit it play, but we'll stop again around beat 112.50. Right there. Oh no, it's a box. So why did I use a box here? As I mentioned, I may or may not have gained a little bit of notoriety for a certain rant I gave at one point about boxes. I don't want to get into all that, but let's see. So why a box? Just go up a little bit and hit play again. So why is that a box as opposed to like a directional sweep like I did for the word down earlier? I was talking about like, oh, it's sweep downward because, it's going down in pitch and all that. Why did I use a box here as opposed to a monodirectional sweep? It's because starting right at measure 28, if you listen to the guitar, like roll up a little bit, like a measure or two, and then hit play. So you hear like up until that point, like the guitar is doing like constant, it's basically just strumming, right? Digga 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 digga. Right there, it's just he hits a chord and sustains it. So right here at measure 28, the music actually transitions into a slightly lower energy, I'll call it a bridge section. I don't actually know what the correct musical terminology is, but it transitions into like a lower energy bridge that
maybe pre-chorus.
Pre-chorus, sure. With like some sustained guitar, like power chord notes, as opposed to the repeated chugging on the strums. Since the music steps down in intensity, you have to step down the patterning in intensity. What's one way to get less intensity and less energy? Less movement. So rather than a monodirectional sweep, it's just stationary. It's a box on the word pull. And then, and a little bit later, I won't make you stop. So about three beats later, right here after the mono sweep goes back up into and at beat 115.50. Yeah, so right here, like there's that sweep that I mentioned earlier, like, so the mono sweep has come back. Zip-a-dup, bub-a-dup. Goes down, then goes up. That's because it's a little bit higher energy, like the pitch goes up, the tone goes up, it's a little bit higher energy than the word pull. So it's a mono sweep because it's a little bit more energy, but the reason why it's a monodirectional sweep is because the word trigger is just one word, and there's no candle until at the end of the word trigger to keep the intensity matched with the music. Because like coming off a trigger, he's like, trigger now! And it's like, oh, well, there's the energy.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. I want to hear it in context now.
You're going to have to edit this interview so much.
Oh, what happened to my markings?
I actually like completely skipped over that part. Yeah, there's that nice little double candle right there.
Wait, we were looking at 115. Did I scroll up too far? It's still highlighted?
You did. You scrolled up too far and you noticed something else that I intentionally skipped over because I wanted to save you time, but I could also spend another 15 minutes talking about it.
Wait, I'm so lost.
Right there, 115.5.
This.
That's the mono sweep down. You just saw something else.
Okay, that's the word now.
Yeah, coming off of the word trigger.
Yeah.
I wrote my notes down wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about it.
Also, I already know I'm editing this portion of it very heavily.
Yeah.
Which you expected, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to warn you.
Okay.
I tried to warn you.
Okay, we have Oh No, a Box. What else are we looking at?
There's a lot I could go into with this one. But if you want to go down to like beat 189.50 or a little bit before it, maybe. Yeah. So it kind of goes back to the same thing at the beginning with the double triangles and all that. You can get that back. Right there, those double boxes. Man, I went from boxes bad, don't use boxes, to 2 boxes in a row. What's this guy doing? So the reason I did this is because, like, it's matching the background vocals on Shoot for the Sun. Now, why did I use boxes as opposed to, triangles, mono sweeps, candles, what have you? One, because even though it's like there's some power behind the vocals at that point, they're kind of background vocals. Like, it's not the lead singer, it's the other members of the band, like, jumping in, with their own, with their energy. So it's like, I didn't want to use a whole bunch of other crazy, like, helicopter-y candles, triangles, all that kind of stuff, because that's reserved for, like, the really powerful, potent notes that the lead singer is, throwing out. I needed to match something on this part where the other band members jump in and say, Shoot for the Sun, because it doesn't happen anywhere else. This is the only part of the song where the other band members jump in for that. So doing the 2 boxes matches like the cadence and the syllabic relevance of the words shoot for, and then it goes into the anchor. All of this with no candles, by the way, because it's background vocals. There's less energy until the very end, which is actually after this part ends by a single 16th note. So all of this goes with no candles. The anchor goes into the fact that it's relevant to the syllables in the phrase the sun. Rather than being one word at a time, it's 2 words. So rather than a box, which is 2 arrows repeated, it's 3 arrows repeated. So if you want to play through this part again, I feel like I just spent like 15 minutes talking about something that takes literally a second and a half to get through. Yeah, that's the good shit.
I like it. I really like it.
All right, so I actually don't have anything. If you want to skip all the way down to measure 76, not beat, measure 76.
That's a box.
Yeah, so that's another one, right? So if you want to roll up about a measure or so, because this is like the first guitar solo, so a little bit different stuff comes in here.
So you're accenting those sets of 3 in the guitar with the anchors, right?
Yeah. So I'm kind of being silent here because I'm trying to figure out how to get into this without really just spending tons of time on it. But if you want to stop real quick,
can I take a stab at it and see how I interpret it?
If you would like to.
Okay, measure 86, right? Or
76.
76. So when I listen to this section, the bum 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 bum, I hear these groups of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're about to see if Tev taught me anything, right? Wait, was that it? I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
That didn't take long.
Well, I guess it could be. You could see it as being accented on the right foot as well. Bum 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 bum. That's like the main thing I'm hearing that's being accented.
You're correct, but it's the left foot that's anchoring to accent that.
Okay. But I guess that's interesting to me, seeing this for the first time.
You're right,
but
you're just interpreting it differently.
But the group of 3 starts on an upbeat, whereas this anchor starts on a downbeat.
Well, yeah, because, again, if you started everything precisely as the music did, as opposed to allowing yourself to be a 16th off every now and then, all of your accented patterns would start or emphasize the same foot. That's another thing that I would say I learned from Zaya and Rims is foot balance. Typically these days, it can't always be done perfectly, but like if you throw most of my newest charts in Breakdown Buddy, you'll notice that most of my anchors on left and right foot are an equal number or close to an equal number. I try to make my candles be equal number. Boxes, like directional facing, I try to make them all balanced, emphasizing your left foot and your right foot. And if I have to offset a pattern by a 16th note to allow for that, I would rather have that symmetrical bodily balance as opposed to perfect accuracy on a single step in a 5,000 step song.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's just a result of this stream, is left foot dominant, meaning that all of the quarter note downbeats are on the left foot. You're saying if it was rhythmically accurate all the time, like I said, this bum bum bum,
everything would be on the left foot, yeah.
And it would be super just like left dominant. The only way you'd be able to switch The only way you'd be able to switch to right foot dominance is either dropping a note, which doesn't make sense in the context of the song at all, or forcing like a 24th in to turn to the other side. And
you really don't want to do that unless, like, I don't want to get into when you should and shouldn't do that because it's partially subjective. But like,
it's also just not in the song, so you shouldn't force it at 24th if you literally can't hear it.
Copy paste everything, move it down a single 16th, flip it horizontally. Surprise! Remember what I said about copy pasting the patterns when the music copy paste? Same thing.
Yep. And anyway, that balance is ultimately more important than accuracy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's only a 16th off. Like, your body is going through. Your body's
abstract.
Your body's going through these larger motions anyways. It's not like tech. Yeah.
Yeah, and movement and facing.
Your body will still be going through the correct movement at the correct time.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah. So anyway, at this point, I'm kind of flowing, and there's a box here. I think there's a box at the start of each 8-measure phrase in this guitar solo. I'm kind of flowing between, like, the anchors and the sweeps to represent, like you were pointing out, the dun-dun-dun, those plucks, and then, like, the sweeps and the intentional monodirection and, like, very defined directional changes and sweeps. So the plucks are accented by the anchors, and like the directional sweeps are accenting like the sustained note on that third pluck. Now there's some leeway that you have to take here, otherwise you're just going to be sitting there like sweeping back and forth in the same direction. Typically for slower stuff like this 168 BPM, I'll try to sustain a pattern. If there's a note or some musical thing that I'm trying to emphasize that sustains for more than like 2 beats, I'll emphasize it in my patterning for like a beat and a half or 2 beats, and then after that I pick something else to avoid getting stagnant with my pattern choices, unless it's like something extremely powerful that just deserves to be emphasized, like high-pitched vocals that are getting helicopters. Yeah, so that's really the main thing here, is the anchors to accent the guitar plucks, and then the sweeps to accent the third sustained pluck.
Yeah.
And the box to accent, like, the first part of the phrase, because it's a slightly longer, lower note that has a little less energy than some of the other parts of this phrase.
Yeah, I'm noticing this idea of displacing by 1/16th note a lot more. Just to make sure you can get a balance of not only left foot and right foot dominance, but also left face, right face dominant.
It's really important for good directional balance and foot balance to understand how to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to get really repetitive.
Do you have any other comments on this chart?
The next thing would be down at measure 107. The second guitar solo starts at measure 107, and there's one little thing that I want to talk about here that's just really super important, I think. So, right here. Hang on. No. I'm sorry, keep going. It starts. So one thing real quick here is like a lot of the same things that I've been saying about directional facing. You might be able to pick out like some of the stuff I've done here just based on everything I've been saying, like with the use of like the triangles and the left, right, lefts and the boxes for directional facing. But this isn't the super important part. Hit play and go down a little bit. Right there, that stuff. with the vertical anchors into the staircases. So let's talk about that real quick.
You have like the tremolo picking and the guitar, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've used anchors a lot in this chart. I like using side anchors. They're comfortable for me. Like, that's just personal preference. That's just my personal preference coming out in my artistic choices. I like side anchors. Right here, though, this is a down arrow anchor, which has not appeared anywhere else in the chart. And it immediately, like, it's a left-facing down arrow anchor that you come out of that and you immediately slam into a right-facing double staircase. So what this is doing, none of those appear anywhere else. I think there's maybe one or two other like double staircases at some points, like, that are matching some really cool guitar parts. But the down anchors are the vertical anchor. I won't even say down anchor. I'll say vertical anchor. The vertical anchor is completely unique, especially immediately sweeping into an opposite facing double staircase. So what this is doing is it draws attention to the fact that this is like the climax of the song. This is the big second guitar solo. Everything after that is like a repeat of the chorus and the verse. It's like the denouement. This is the climax. This is the cool part. This is where everything gets epic. I can't believe I unironically just used the word epic. Anyway, so this draws emphasis to the fact that this is like the big, full, maximum energy part of the song, and the fact that these guitar wheedling, this doesn't appear anywhere else in the song. It's a unique part of the music. Since this is a unique part of the music, it gets unique patterns. Like, if I'm writing a tech chart, if there's something that, like, if it's like a foot switch chart and it's like and it's like if it's all these foot switches, and then at the very end it does some like crazy 24th wobbledy whoop, I don't know. I'm not just gonna throw a foot switch in there. I'm gonna do something to accent it. I'm gonna do something unique. Unique music gets unique patterns. But you still copy paste it when it's relevant. Like, this is an 8 measure long solo. It kind of repeats it. It kind of repeats it, but like it's still it only appears once. This isn't like a chorus. This isn't a verse. This is it.
And as usual, you're making sure to be consistent. It's a tremolo picking followed by 2 scales, and then tremolo picking again followed by 2 scales. So you're making sure that pattern is being upheld.
And the staircases are monodirectional as opposed to alternating staircases, because the guitar notes are just like a set of 4 repeated. It's not digga 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 digga. It's digga 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 digga.
Yeah.
And then it like repeats it again after this, and I just kind of stepped it down a 16th and flipped it horizontally so it's balanced on the other foot, but still emphasizes the same things.
Right.
God, this song's so cool. And it does it again. It's really cool.
Oh, later on?
No, it's like the same thing. I just stepped it down as it does it again. There it is. There it is. Look at that.
Ooh, okay.
There it is again.
Consistency.
That's pretty much all I had to say about the song. The rest of it's just a repeat of the chorus and like verse, and yeah.
That's all. You didn't have much to say, just that.
Yeah, I only spoke for an hour and a half on 120 measures of music, 60 of which are repeated. Just a little bit.
Should we look at the last chart?
I don't know. Do you want to look at the last chart? I want to look at the last chart.
Let's look at the last chart.
Let's look at the last chart.
Alright, so this is the last chart we're going to look at. It's a Transparent Metropolis of the Sky, but I thought you were supposed to send me only charts that you made. This is an XJam chart.
Yeah. So, surprise. On XJam 09. This is a chart from my upcoming pack, XJam 09 Jams 2. Stamina Nation might have a field day with this. Not sure. I'm having a field day with it.
I had a field day with it when I saw it, and you sent me these files.
Good. Good.
Should we just hit play?
Yeah, so like the thing is about this one, I actually don't have very much to say about this chart overall that like I haven't already touched on in some of the other songs we talked about. But what I did want to touch on, and I really can't go into this one too much because it's very, very abstract, but I feel like this chart, this one's actually already released as well. I kind of snuck this one in like 6 or 7 months ago or something. I've been sitting on it for a while. So this one I feel like is a good concept, good demonstration, in my opinion, of the concept of scaling. So scaling is actually, it's a term that gets thrown around a lot. It's a term that Zaya popularized. Like I said, he basically like kind of casually defined 2 or 3 different generations of stamina meta that I'm aware of. Scaling is a concept that it's like difficult to really like pin down objectively, but it basically refers to like a gradual stepping up in intensity and complexity that most music naturally has, that ideally you want your patterning to mimic. It's kind of like the term scaling basically stems from the phrase like scale up, like to scale up an image. If you scale up an image, you don't actually change the content of the image, you just make it larger. It just, there's more of it, it takes up more space, it's more in your face. So basically it's like, it's not completely changing what your patterning is, but it's growing it. It's expanding with the music.
Is this a chart where we can just kind of let it play through and you can talk over it and from like a high level?
Let's do that. Because like I said, I feel like Shoot for the Sun, honestly, was like the big one that I wanted to talk about.
There's a lot of meticulous details in Shoot for the Sky, and then I'm sure there are in this as well. But the takeaways you have
a little less. Yeah, there's less of a takeaway. This one, I'm just pretty happy with how this one turned out. I think it turned out really well, both like in terms of craftsmanship. So like Shoot for the Sun just had a lot of really good examples that I could point at and go this, that, or the other. But this one, so right here, like at this beginning part, it's like, it's kind of just like your chill, like, I won't say like meaningless, but like it's kind of relaxed, low-key, nothing too special drum and bass patterning with the 4-arrow anchors that are emphasizing the
bum 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 bum.
Yeah, like I don't even know what that instrument
bum, bum,
is.
bum, bum. Yeah,
like
strings.
Some kind of strings. Yeah.
String section. Yeah.
String section. Yeah. So yeah, another reason why I didn't want to talk about this one too much is because it's actually the longest one that I sent you, and I didn't want to get too bogged down in it. So right there, in that last anchor, I introduced a candle that wasn't really present in some of the other ones. It's on the last anchor of each phrase, and I've also introduced these boxes that are emphasizing that synth sound. So I've kind of scaled up the anchor by adding a candle at the end of the phrase. Not so much that it's getting crazy aggressive, because it's still kind of a low-key background part, but enough to draw attention to it. And then the boxes, of course, are just kind of drawing emphasis to a new part of the music that was not there prior.
The way I see this is that you started with a bass patterning, and then as the song is layering these things in, you're adding more juice to complement that. But the bass layer that you set is still the same, you're just adding more things to complement that music.
Yes. And then right here, I've kind of been a little reserved with my directional changes in these eighth notes, because it kind of sets a motif for this part that comes in right here, where following the piano notes, there's a measure or a beat and a half of mono between those anchors, which are hitting the high notes of the piano. So wow, we're kind of moving through this really fast.
Yeah.
These anchors, there's an anchor on each foot. It's going so fast, I can't talk about all this cool stuff. But there's an anchor on each foot to accent the slightly stepping down notes of the piano. There's the monodirectional on each thing. Hang on, pause it. Just pause it real quick. Roll back up for a few measures. So there's the beat and a half of mono to emphasize the motif that I established in the eighth note break beforehand, where there's not that much movement in the eighth notes, because it's following the same piano bit, but now there's a drum and bass thing in the background. And then the anchors are emphasizing the piano notes, where it's da 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 da, because each one of those the musical note is different, so it's on a different arrow. And then I think go down a little bit. Yeah, hit play. Yeah, it's at the end of this part. I think we might have to roll back up. I'll let you know. It doesn't matter. Right there, that part where it's just a bunch of triangles, because it's da 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 da, and it's I did the direction changes where I could, but it's basically just it's kind of like just rapid fire. It's kind of like it's the same rhythm as what the anchors were going to, but like now the notes are changing faster than the anchors were changing, so it's like there's some movement there.
Is it weird that the piano is really just straight eighth notes, but really these triangles are accenting like a dotted eighth pattern?
Nah, that's just stamina,
rhythmically, because the rhythmically is right?
You just do what you can. Sometimes you just got to do what the music tells you.
Right, and so I guess with stamina, which I've already learned,
it's all about how you feel.
It's how about you feel, and more about how your body moves through the patterns, rather than
it's how your body feels,
rather than how the notes are placed.
Yep, exactly.
So you're just adding more movement there.
Yep. There's the boxes. If you want to like roll down a little bit, this part it just repeats that same part. Yeah, you just kind of like skip that one. Yeah. Go ahead and hit play because I think here in a little bit it does something different. So now I've established this motif with all of that stuff. You know, like it's repeated twice. Now I've established a motif. Actually, it repeats like one more time. I'm sorry. Roll down a little bit more. So this part gets a little repetitive. It's drum and bass. Yeah, like just hit play right here. I think it's either like one more iteration of that. Yeah, right here. Ooh, violin kicks in, right? So now you'll notice there's a lot more candles. There's a lot more energy and movement. There's a hit breaker right there. Like there's that anchor. Like the violin kicks in. So I literally, what I did was I copy pasted that same like musical pattern down because that's still going on in the background, and then I just kind of built around it to emphasize the new layer of the violin. Like that's the best way I can really like very like quick and dirty define scaling. It's like the rest of the music is still there, and now we're just building more stuff on top of it without compromising what has already been established in the previous 32 measures.
There's a bass pattern that you've established already, and then you know that piano, still sometimes
and
pops
then the
in.
Violin comes in. And then this part right here, it's actually just a repeat of the stuff that I was mentioning earlier. Pretty much the rest of it's just repetitive, like stuff that we already talked about.
But you're still making sure those piano accents that you were highlighting before still sometimes make it in, but you're just kind of layering these other things on top.
Yeah.
It's
That's basically like the best way I can. I won't say it's the best way, but it's like one of the quickest ways to like define scaling. It's like you've already like the music has established a theme. You establish a theme with your patterning on top of what the music's theme. When the music introduces a variation on its theme without modifying or compromising said original theme, you have to do the same thing to your patterning. You still have to match all the layers of the music. Anyway, there's a break and then there's a victory lap. Yeah, it's victory lap. You know how it would be.
Still respecting the same things from before. Motifs.
Well, yeah, I mean, the music hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Please look forward to XJam 09 Jams 2 coming out whenever Stamina Showcase 3 Round 1 judging is completed, because my submissions are in there.
Why does XJam 09 exist?
We do not have time to discuss this.
Okay, well...
Like, I'm telling you right now. I mean, unless you want me to, but it's going to be another 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe not. I could hotshot through it. You want the short version?
Let's take more information rather than less, and I'll decide what I want to cut in. How about that?
Okay. So, the short version as to why XJam 09 exists is because I thought it would be funny.
Nice. That's actually pretty on-brand. That's pretty on-brand Chief Skittles behavior.
Yeah, I thought it would be funny. I wanted to see what would happen. So I just kind of did it.
It was funny. I've been asking myself, who is XJam 09 since the last SRPG? And I've never known.
Hi.
Now the world knows. Yeah. Dance Games Daily exclusive premiere.
Dance Game, so my original plan was to do this dramatic reveal at like StaminaCon 2. And by dramatic reveal, I mean I was just going to register as XJam 09 and wear the badge and see if anybody noticed. I was literally just going to be like, I just wanted to see if anybody would like take the 2 seconds to look at my badge and see that it said XJam 09 instead of Chief Skittles.
To be fair, the StaminaCon badges are very cool. And we all look at each other's badges.
That's why I was going to do that. because I was like, surely someone will look at it.
People will definitely see it.
And then we had a pandemic, so that kind of ruined that. And I was debating like keeping it under wraps until we could actually have in-person events again. But like, it's been getting harder and harder for me to keep it a secret because like it took off. I never expected people to be like, who is this guy? Who is it? I thought people would be like, oh, it's so like my reasoning here is like naturally, like most of my greatest achievements, this comes off of only one of two things, either me trolling or me being angry about something pointless. In this case, it was the latter. I was mad about something. I was just extremely upset about some argument I had gotten into on Discord. I think it was about like getting noticed or being relevant and like step charting, like the whole like, oh golly gee gosh darn, nobody cares about my charts, nobody ever wants to look at me, like, you know, like the whole self-defeating kind of thing. I really hate that kind of mentality. I get where it comes from, but like I can't stand it. And like I had spent entirely way too much energy debating people about like the merits of that sort of stance. So, kind of just on a whim, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to invent this entire new person. I'm going to just invent this complete and utter rando. And I'm just going to start releasing content as this rando. And just, like, literally, like, the best stuff I could make. Like, like, not just total garbage, like, high-quality content. Just start throwing it out there as this complete rando and see what happened. I wanted to see if anybody would notice, if anyone would give feedback, if anyone would like realize, you know, hey, this guy actually, this complete rando actually knows what he's doing. Basically, I was being petty and vindictive, like I tend to be. I did that, and I picked XJam09. It's actually a reference to professional wrestling performer Kofi Kingston, which that's a bit of a long story. I can skip that if you want, but just know that it is a reference to Kofi Kingston, and if anybody wants to know the meaning behind it, I can tell them. I made this fake account. I actually forgot the login information for it, so the account's basically lost. It's still active in Stamina Nation. You can actually go tag it if you want to. So it's still in there, but I can't get into the account anymore. I'm gonna have to make it again and just be like, oops, I forgot my account. Haha! Like, you know, that was my plan for releasing XJam09 Jams 2. So I made this account, and my plan was like, I was just gonna make the account, join Stamina Nation, and just lurk for a couple months. Like, do nothing, just be there, you know? Because my plan was, if anybody like thought, who is this guy? Where'd he come from? They'd like go back and they'd say, oh, he's been here for like months, but he never said anything. Huh. But what ended up happening, and this was not according to plan, I guess you could say, is that Arkai was collecting content for, I guess it was, I can't remember which one it was. It was either ECS9 or SRPG, one of the SRPGs, 3, or it had to be 4, because that's where the quest came from. I sent him everything I had, stamina-wise, that I had not released yet.
As you or as XJam?
As both. The only thing is, like, I just had, like, you know, like, I just basically sent him the pack folders, and I just labeled the XJam one, you know, hey, if you use this stuff, don't tell anybody who it is.
But he knew. So, he was in the loop.
So, yeah. So, immediately, the two people who knew were, before Arkai knew, because I sent him the stuff. Before he did, Storytime knew, because I was like, I need to tell at least one person I'm doing this, because I will absolutely lose my mind if I have to keep it a secret from everyone.
I felt that way about the prickly pear puzzle.
Yeah. I was like, I have to tell one other person, because if I don't, I will go insane. So I told Storytime, because like I said, I consider him one of my best friends. So we're like, you know, we're dying laughing about this because we're idiots and we think it's funny. So I sent him the stuff, and I never, at this point, I didn't think I was actually like that good at writing stamina. I was just like, you know, hey, maybe if you need some filler content, here you go. And he ended up using, I think, 2 or 3 different charts out of XJam09 Jams 1 in ECS 9. And then he used more of them in SRPG 4. and there was the XJam09 quest in there, which, God bless Arkai. He leaned into it. Like, I feel like had he not actually like
who's XJam09?
Yeah, like he leaned into it as hard as he could, and he made it this whole thing. Like, and I feel like had he not done that, I would not have had nearly as much fun with this as I did. But like, he just absolutely blew it up, and I am still grateful to him for doing that, because like I'm just having the time of my life, just like cackling in the background, because at this point nobody knows. Like, I'm having like these daily conversations with Alex. He's like, I can't believe XJam09 charted my favorite Noah song, Desperate Crusader. Like, Alex was like the most invested person in like, he actually didn't care in the end. I ended up, because I, like, spoiler alert, I actually told Alex recently. He was like,
I was hoping he would see.
Yeah, I was so upset. I thought it would be like super mad. Like, as a celebration for releasing Prickly Pear, I was like, oh yeah, BT dubs. I'm XJam. Sorry about Desperate Crusader. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, come on, man. But
pretty
no, so like at the time,
for how much
of
a fuss he made out of it.
Yeah, like, I was like, oh, how dare he come out and fight me, XJam09. You know, naturally he's playing it up. He's like, I'm gonna fight this guy. And I'm just like dying laughing at this, because I'm just having the time of my life. So Ian just kind of leaned into it, and I'm eternally grateful. And that's pretty much it. Like, my initial plan kind of got derailed by some of the XJam charts inclusion in ECS events, because like it kind of immediately threw him into the threw me into the forefront there, and it's like, well, now everybody's like, who is this guy? So I'm like, well, okay, so gear shift here. Now I'm just gonna like, I'll pop in every now and then and like drop a random chart and be like, hey guys, I'm working on my next pack. It's XJam09 Jams 2. Hope you're looking forward to it. And then I lost the login information, so that never happened.
Here we are.
like most of my grand schemes, I had very little forethought put into this. I just thought it would be funny, and when it blew up, I just kind of went with it. I never expected it to become a whole thing. And maybe nobody actually cares. Maybe people are just playing along with it. I'm having the time of my life.
I care.
I hope somebody gets a kick out of this, because I've been just bubbling with anticipation. Like I said, I was gonna make Stamina Con 2 be the thing, but in the interest of my own sanity, I cannot keep it under wraps any longer. And just because I know someone will say something about it, well, hey, hold on a second. This chart was released publicly. He might not actually be XJam09. He could just be fake. I can pull up the GIMP project file for the banner artwork and prove that it was me right now. I can also pull up all the other files in the pack if you want. I won't, because my Stamina Showcase files are in there, and I really don't need to show those publicly. But yeah, like, take my word for it. Storytime can vouch for it. Arkai can vouch for it. Thoth can vouch for it. I eventually told them that actually a couple of them were like, what?
They at least reacted more than Alex.
Yeah. Like, imagine, like, the whole thing, like, was basically just, like, of all the people who reacted, the person who I thought would react the most reacted the least. That hurts.
Well, thanks, Trevor, for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I apologize for getting exceptionally long-winded. I hope editing this is not too much of a pain in the butt for you.
I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna give myself 2 days to edit instead of 1.
I'm sorry,
but I do love talking to you. I consider you one of my closest friends, especially one of the first people I really became friends with, like, in the community when I started interacting more, particularly with Stamina. I also just love talking Stamina. I love being as experienced as I am and still having these big gaps in knowledge.
You're gonna make me cry a little bit.
No. Before you cry,
hold it together. Big boys don't cry.
Before you cry,
big boys just complain about boxes.
Don't get too teary. You know, Everlasting is playing right now, but. Do you have any?
Oh God, now I am crying.
Yeah. Do you have any shoutouts before we end this?
I kind of threw in a little here and there randomly, but I would say so. Shoutouts to first and foremost, I would say shoutouts to Okami, because had he not reached out to me for Comic-Con 95 and Stamina Factory, I may not have ever really considered, picking up stamina as a form of artistic expression. Again, shout outs to the people that I mentioned earlier, Zaya, Rims, and Storytime, for basically teaching me how to write stamina, and for the rest of FOF, the Ivory Tower, whatever, for giving me all the feedback I needed for writing like everything from 110 BPM to 310 BPM. God, I know I'm gonna miss something, and I'm gonna look back and be like so upset that I didn't mention someone.
Feedbacker.
But yeah, I mean, shout outs to Hosong for letting me Lucci right into that sumbitch. Please let me know when I can start spamming wide stance again. I won't promise to not do it. I will immediately start spamming wide stance again if you let me. But I understand why I can't.
And also turn the fuck up.
Yeah, please widen the stance up. I mean, at the time of writing, I've kind of dipped out from social media like entirely right now because I've been super duper like very stressed out with work, and I've been being kind of a toxic influence on the community, which is not what I want to do. So shout outs to anyone I may have offended by being a dick online. Sorry. I do mean things when I'm stressed.
Yeah, I know these shoutouts are typically for you, but I actually want to give a shout out to Houston ICG for kind of connecting us together for some reason, for being involved with Houston people. And also my shoutouts are to Red Zone Nova and Storytime as well, for I think the four of us.
Those guys are like two of my best friends. They're up there for sure.
Seriously, just like the three of you guys are some of the people I talked to the most on Stamina Nation when I was first involved in it. So you guys have all been a really positive influence for me.
We like to have fun here, except for when we don't.
Anything else to say, or you?
Sorry about the boxes thing.
That's okay.
About it.
All right. Well, thanks again for Chief Skittles /Trevor /XJam09 /XJam10.
No, I'm actually not XJam10.
Whoa, okay.
I know who it is, but I'm actually not XJam10.
Okay, well...
The mystery continues, kids.
Thank you for being on. I love talking about stamina content, but I love playing it. It's still a body of knowledge I still have a lot to learn more about. So if there's stamina guests that you guys want on, let me know. Otherwise, seriously, thanks again for continuing your support of Dance Games Daily. I'll catch you guys next week.